the one, the only, Ben Sion.
Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Just Daf it. We're continuing with Gittin, Daf Nun Tet, number 59. It's the 3 weeks, but the Korban is over. Korban by Hasheni is over. As far as Mesachas Gittin is concerned, we talk about something which are more relevant laws to everyday life, about honoring Kohanim today. Honoring Kohanim, different halachas about in the shul, the order of people that for Kriyas HaTorah, Kohen, Levi, Yisrael. We'll get into that more in Ben Sion. Last words of Nun Chet Amid Beis, and last two words. I'm a Rav, top of Nun Chet Amid Aleph. Ana Havai Ma'anyana Debe Rebbe. When Rebbe in the previous Mishnah made a takana later on about the Sikrikun, where he basically said, if you buy land from a Sikrikun, someone who extorted land from a Jew, so you have, during the first 12 months, the original purchaser can buy it back from you. After 12 months have passed, he can't buy it back from you. Anyone who purchases it can purchase it, but you have to give 1/4 of the money back to the original owner. So he said, I was there when Rebbe made the takana. Ominai didi manu b'reisha. When they were enacting the takana, they were in yay or nay, right? So they started with Rav first. Rav was much younger than Rebbe. He was one of the younger scholars. We learned the Mishnah in Sanhedrin. When you conduct a minion, right, to vote on whether they're going to enact a takana or not, when it comes to financial matters and Tuma and Tara, you start from the greatest person there. When it comes to deciding capital punishment, so therefore you start from the side. Usually the lesser scholars are on the side. So this is Dinei Mamanis. I'm a Rabba B'Rei Rabba, V'Temer Rav Hillel B'Rei Rav Valis, Shiny Minyana the Rebbe, the Chulim Minyana Min Asad Havu. Rebbe argued on the Mishnah. Rebbe always felt, no matter whether it's nefashos, even Mamanis and Tumas and Taras, he always started from the side, which was the person who's less knowledgeable, and Rav was one of the younger generation at that time. V'Amar Rabba B'Rei Rabba, V'Temer Rav Hillel B'Rei Rav Valis. Another teaching in the same name. Moshe about Rebbe, Lo Matzina Torah Gila V'Makom Echad. From the time of Moshe to Rebbe, there was no time, no generation where the preeminent scholar in Torah also wielded the most power. Right? Wielded the most power as the leader of the generation. Moshe did it, and not until from when Moshe lived until Rebbe was the next person to assume both mantles. So the Gemara says, "Lo." Hava Yeshua presumably had both. He had power, and he was the preeminent scholar. Hava Lazar. There was Elazar, who was the son of Aaron, who also was more scholarly. He was just as scholarly as Pinchas. Whereas Hava Elazar. Then when Pinchas died, there was Elazar. Sorry, when Yeshua died, there was Elazar. Hava Elazar. Whereas Hava Pinchas. Pinchas also came from the family. We learned about him last parsha. He also was the family of Kohanim. He became a Kohen through his actions. He was more scholarly, even though Elazar was a leader. Pinchas was equal or more scholarly than Elazar. Rahava Pinchas. After Elazar died, it was Pinchas. Hava was Canaan. There were the elders who also were more knowledgeable than Pinchas. Hava Shaul. What about Shaul? Hava Shmuel. Shmuel is more knowledgeable than Shaul. V'hanach navshe. But during Shaul's lifetime, Shmuel died. So it's Kulu Shane Kamrion. You're right. Technically, when Shmuel died, Shaul, for the rest of his life, was the preeminent scholar and the leader. However, we're talking about someone for his entire life, and Shmuel lived part of the life of Shaul. V'hava David. What a David? Hava Ira Ha'ira. Ira was a greater scholar. V'hanach navshe. But didn't he die during David's lifetime? Kulu Shane Kamrion. We need all the years of David's reign. Hava Shlomo. There was Shlomo. Hava Shimon ben Ger. Shimon ben Ger was a greater scholar. V'hakathle. He had him killed, Shimon ben Gera. So when it says Kulu Shanei Kamrin, we're talking about all his life. Hahava Chizkiah, what a Chizkiah? Hahava Shivna, it was Shivna Hayektel, but Shivna was killed during Chizkiah's life. Kulu Shanei Kamrin, we're talking about the duration of their entire life. Hahava Ezra, second basic mixture was Ezra. And where it says Hava Nehemiah ben Chachalia, who was equal to him. Amar Ravacha, Brei the Rava, Afani Omer, Mimos Rebbe Vad Ravashi, Lo Matzina Torah B'Gdula V'Makom Echad. Right, just like Rebbe was the only one who had both leadership and the preeminent scholar. From Rebbe's time until Rav Ashi, the next one who had both was Rav Ashi. The Gemara says it's true. Huna Bar Nasa lived in the time of Rav Ashi, and he was supposedly a greater scholar than Rav Ashi. Shiny Huna Bar Nasa to make of a Kayaf Leila Rav Ashi, even though he was a greater scholar, When it came to Psak Halacha, who was the one that was the main posek? The posek for that generation? It was Rav Ashi. Even though Huda Bar Nasan was a greater scholar, but he used to submit his daya, his opinion, to Rav Ashi. The Mishnah says, Cheresh Romez V'nirmaz. A Cheresh, someone who's a deaf mute, right? He's like a katan, he lacks basic intelligence, so he has to be able to conduct business affairs, right? To sell things, buy things. He has to have a life. He's allowed to get married with the Rabbanans. How do you assess? He can't talk. How do you know when he wants to do something? So the Gemara says, or he wants to tell someone to write a get or to make a sale. So the Gemara says, Romez V'nirmaz. He conducts his business affairs by Romez, which is basically sign language. V'nirmaz, and his, right, someone doing sign language to him, he understands it. Minister Omer Kovetz V'nikvatz. Mesera says, even if he mouths the words, he doesn't actually use sign language, or it's mouthed to him, that's good enough. Metaltalin. It works by metaltalin. We'll see in the Gemara what this means. Habutos, also children who are of the age where they understand what's going on. Mekha, what they buy is considered a valid purchase. And Mekar and Memkar, what they sell is considered a valid sale. Metaltalin. Only by metaltalin. We'll see the Gemara what that excludes. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman, Machlokes metaltalin. Machlokes between Bein B'Seir and the Tanakama. Right? Does mouthing something work for a Cheresh? Machlokes metaltalin. But Gittin, Divrei HaKol B'Ramiza. If they want to offer a divorce, a Cheresh wants to offer a divorce, he has to use sign language. Where says Pshita, metaltalin. The only time the Sarah argued was metaltalin, by making purchases of movable objects. Ma'od the same, you might think af metaltalin. You might think, even though it says, you might think when it says metaltalin, even metaltalin, but certainly a get. Kamash Malan, no, only metaltalin. Ikad Amri, some say Amar of Nachman, Kamachlokas metaltalin, Kach Machlokas begittin. Just like Ben Beseira allows purchases of a cheresh through mouthing the word, so too by Gittin, he can give a get, he can make someone a shliach to write a get through mouthing the words. And the Mishnah says only metaltalin. Ema af metaltalin. According to the second version, even metaltalin, but kol shekin certainly by Gittin, which is only Yisr v'heter. Aputos mekan mekach from mekar memkar. Then metaltalin vad kama. Until what age? Right? What age do they start where their transactions are valid? At least midrabanan. Machir Rav Yehuda, Rav Yitzchak, Rav Yitzchak Bray. Rav Yehuda told his son Rav Yitzchak, Kibar Shis, Kibar Shev. Generally, it's when the child is 6, and sometimes when he's 7. I guess the more intelligent are 6 and 7. Rav Kahana Amar Kibar Shev, Kibar Tzmani. He says 7 and 8-year-olds. Now, the right says Kibar Teisha, Kibar Eser, 9 or 10 years old. Below pligi. All these opinions don't argue. Kol Chad B'Chad Lefi Chorpe. There's children early at the age of 6. They understand what's going on. And there's some children whose intellectual development takes longer until the age of 10. The time of my, why did the Rabbanan allow this? Even though Midaraisa, a katan doesn't have das, he can't affect purchases, he can't buy something. Midaraisa doesn't work. The Rabbanan, through Hefker based and Hefker, they made these transactions. So the Gemara says, my Amar Rav Abba Bar Yaakov Amar Yochanan Mishum K'dei Chayav. Certain times, a child is by himself. He needs to be able to earn a living. He doesn't have parents. He's an orphan. So they allowed him in order to be able to have what to eat, to sell products in order to earn a living. And the Gemara continues the name of this Amora, a different teaching. This is a pasuk in Malachim. It says to the person who is in control of the Meltacha, take all the clothing out to the worship of a Baal. My Meltacha. Amar Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Amar Yochanan Davar Nimlal V'Nimtach. It's a reference to linen. Linen, basically, you rub it, you roll it through your hands, v'nimtach, and then it stretches out. Kiasa Rav Dimi Amar Yochanan Shiger Lo Bunyas Ben Nunes Rebbe Bunyam Ben Numyum. The Rebbe sent him a gift. Sibi v'chumas silsila v'mala. Sibi, these are different types of linens. Some are more finer than others. Sina v'chumas kam goza opage dam goza. Right, when you fold over basically a garment, let's say a shirt, a linen shirt, it was so thin that when you fold it all up together, it only equals a nut and a half a nut, 1.5 nuts. So slow milma, kipistico pagi the pisk, it's even smaller, or it's even thinner. When you roll it all up together, it only equals an acorn and a half. My milmala. What is milmala? Davar nimlal v'nimtach. Something which is rubbed between your fingers and therefore it stretches out. That's why linen can become so thin because it stretches out when you rub it. V'ta'usanat kama. We said that children can affect transactions, right? But by gedolim, there's a concept of ona, right? If someone gets ripped off by 1/6 or more than 1/6, you have the ability to void the transaction. What about ketanim? Amar Rabbi Yonah Amar Zera ad shtus kegadol. The same halachas that apply by ona by a gadol, they instituted by a katan also. Baya masasal mai. What about giving a present? Could he give a present? Right? We don't know he can make transaction. The reason is that he should have food to eat. Could he give a present? Is that valid midoraisa? Right? We're talking about the Rabbanan Hefker based on Hefker and made this transaction valid midoraisa. Rav Yemar Amar ein masnasa matan. He said he can't give a present. Mar Bar Rashi Amar, his present masnasa matan. His present is a good present. Afhua. So when they heard this, they switched around the names. V'sharu al-kamei de Rav Mordechai. They sent it to Rav Mordechai what these people said. Basically, and it turned out Mar Bar Rashi, who was the son of Rav Ashi, said it's not a matana. Amar lei. So when Rav Mordechai heard about it, Zilu Amru lebar Mar. Go tell the son of Mar, who was Rav Ashi, Lav hachi hava uvda. Your father didn't rule like that. Ki hava kai Mar chad kari ha'ara v'chad kari ha'darga. He was standing 1 foot on the floor and 1 foot on the step. I guess he was going upstairs in his house. And Amarna, he told us off the cuff, Amarna le masnasal mai. He said to him, could a katan give a gift? Amarlan masnasal matana. It is a valid gift. Achad masas shlimera, whether the child is on his deathbed, achas masas bari, or he's a healthy kid, achas masas ruba, whether it's a big gift, achas masas matana muedes, even though it's a small gift. In all of these cases, midoraisa, the matana of a child is a valid matana. Turns out his son really did stay like his father, but they didn't. Rav Mordechai didn't know that. The Mishnah says, it continues certain things. The Mishnah these Mishnayos talk about takanos that Chazal made. Certain things they did made takanos in order to engender peace. Kohen Kori Rishon. A Kohen reads in the Sefer Torah first. The Achra of Levi, and afterwards the Levi. Right in Shul, the Kohen reads first. The second Aliyah goes to Levi. Achra of Yisrael. The third Aliyah goes to Yisrael. Neidarach Shalom. We'll see in the Gemara that really it's Dalraisa, right? Tam means Darkei Shalom, and the Gemara will explain what it means Darkei Shalom. Ma'arvim vayis yashav in Darkei Shalom. When they made an Erev Echatzeros, you usually put bread. You have a bunch of apartments next to each other, a bunch of houses next to each other. They want to be able to carry in the common yard, so you put bread or matzahs in one of the houses. They used to do it. They always did it in the same house. Wherever they picked the house, the Erev was always in that place. So people shouldn't fight over it. Darkei Shalom. Top of Nun Teramad Beis, Borshu Karov La'ama Mismale Rishon. When they had irrigation, they had a stream of water that they would run off water to different fields. So, which person's cistern they would store water in cisterns in pits in order to have extra water. Who gets filled first? The one that's closest to the stream. Mismale Rishon made Darkei Shalom. People shouldn't fight. Metzudos Chayev Ofos V'Dagim Yesh Behem Mishum Gezel Mei Darkei Shalom. If I set up a trap to catch an animal, a wild animal, or a bird, or a fish, right? Technically, according to the Torah law, I'm not kona that when the trap traps it. I have to actually pick it up. I have to do a hagbah or a meshicha. However, Darkei Shalom, he said it's gezel. You can't steal from that person. Now, if he does steal it, you can't be motzi it from him. If someone takes it. However, the Chetchila, they say it's called the gazel. Rabbi Yossi Omer gezel gomer. It's actually considered real steal, and you could go to a beis din and have a claim on it, even if you just caught it. Metzias chereshot of a katan. Let's say we talk about a chereshot of a katan at selling things and giving a matana. Let's say they find something. Yesh v'hem mishum gezel. Maybe they darkei shalom. Even though technically, if they find something, I can just take it from them. Right? They can't be kona it because they don't have das. You need to have basic knowledge to make a kinyan. The Rabbanan said it's gezel if you take from them. If they find something, you can take from the darkei shalom. Yossi Omer gezel gomer. He says, we'll see, it's not midoraisa, or Yossi means derabanan. However, they have a claim in court midorabanan. Ani amanake v'rosh hazayis. Let's say a poor person, manos aniyim. There's a concept of lechet shikha and peah. Also, if you have a fruit tree and you leave over some of the fruits on the tree after you're done harvesting, so a poor person can go up to the tree and take the olives that were remaining on the tree. So when he knocks them off the tree to the floor, right, he didn't do a kinyan. You have to pick it up to do a kinyan. Masha tachtav gez on the Darkei Shalom. Nonetheless, they instituted once he knocked it off, it belongs to him, and you can't take it. The Rabbanan said you can't take it in order to make peace. Or Yosef Omer gezel gomer. He actually owns it on level of the Rabbanan. Additionally, even though leket shechapei are supposed to be for Jewish poor people, in a community where there's non-Jewish people also, non-Jews will say, hey, these poor people are taking, we'll take also. We don't stop them from taking lechet shekel pay in order, we shouldn't have fights with the non-Jews. The Gemara says, Menani Mili. How do you know the first halakha in our Mishnah? That you, in the Beis HaKnesses, the first aliyah goes to the Kohen, then to the Levi, and to Yisrael. Amar of Masa, Amakra, Vayichtav Moshe as HaTorah Azos, Vayisna la Kohanim b'nei Levi. Moshe read the Torah, and he gave it to the Kohanim, the children of Levi. Now, Atu Anan lo Yadana the Kohanim b'nei Levi. We know the Kohanim come from the family of Levi. Why do you have to say b'nei Levi? Ela Kohen v'reisha ha Levi. The Torah is teaching you, first comes the Kohen, reading the Sefer Torah, and then the Levi. Yitzchak Nafcha Amar Mihacha, different pasuk. V'nikshu ha-Kohanim b'nei Levi. The Kohanim came forward, the children of Levi. Atu Anan lo Yadina the Kohanim b'nei Levi. And of course, the Kohanim are our tribe of Levi. Ela Kohen v'reisha v'ha Levi. It comes to teach you the extra words. Come to tell you first the Kohen comes, gets honor, and then the Levi gets honor. Rashi Amar Mahacha. Rashi is from here. Bnei Amram, Aaron and Moshe. The children of Aaron and Moshe. Vayavdal Aaron l'akdisha kodesh kadashim. Hashem said for Aaron to make him kodesh kadashim, because you see the kahuna gets special kedusha. Now, from his drasha, you don't see anything about the Levium, right? We'll talk about the difference between this drasha and the following drasha, as opposed to the first two drashas. The Torah says about a Kohen, you have to mekadesh him. Anything where it's relevant kedusha, right? You're honoring someone, you're showing him he's more important than other people. Anything where there's honor involved, if there's a bunch of people speaking, right? A convention of speakers, the Kohen speaks first. Now, some people say this talking about when you sit down to a bread meal, the person who makes hamotzi should be the Kohen. I think it's talking about Berkas Hamazon because again, this is a derived daraisa. Berkas Hamazon is daraisa, making a motzil on the Rabbana. L'lital mana yafer rishon. Also, when you sit down to a meal and you pass around the short ribs, the spare ribs, who gets first? The Kohen gets to take first. Amalei Abaye, the Rav Yosef. Why is the Rav Yosef? Nidarche Shalom. How can the Mishnah say the reason the Kohen comes first in Shul and then the Levi and the Yisrael is because of making peace? Doraisi, we just see it's a pasuk, 4 psukim, right? Amrele Doraisa Vnei Darkei Shalom. He said, no, that's the reason. And the Mishnah is telling you the reason Doraisa. The reason Doraisa tells you that Kohen come first is to make peace. It's like sort of Darshin and time of like Rabbi Shimon. So the Gemara said, he said back to him, Amalei Doraisa. So the Gemara says, Kol Torah Kula Nam Vnei Darkei Shalom. Why is this specifically Darkei Shalom? The entire Torah, all the laws of the Torah make peace. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. All its ways are ways of peace. Abayi says it's coming to teach the following teaching. The Bryce says, if you have two people eating together, right? Two people are eating, they're having a date, they're having a husband and wife are sitting down to eat together. You don't start eating before your friend. You wait for the person to come. Shlosha, if there's more than two people, a large family meal. Once there's 3 people, so one person can go and start eating first. About say who poshet yado. Again, this has nothing to do with kohanim. These are about hilchos suda we learn in Shulchan Aruch Yomi. About say who poshet yado. The person who breaks the bread, who leads the meal, he takes from the serving of food first. If he wants to give honor to his rebbe who's there also, or someone who's more powerful than him in the community, whether he's more powerful financially or more powerful influentially, so he could do that. Amar Allah, Rabbah said about this, Lo Shanala Basuda. The fact that you can be mochel on your kavod, right? The person who breaks the bread has the kavod. He's the balabayas. The person who's breaking the bread is the balabayas. Even if it's not his house, he's the balabayas. He can only give honor to a rebbe or someone greater than him only at a meal. Aval Beis HaKnesses lo asulan suyi. Right? Even though technically Mido Raisa, right? And the Mishnah says Kohen, we brought these psukim, Kohen comes first, he has the first aliyah, then Levi, then Yisrael. But technically Mido Raisa, Kohen could be mochel on his kavod, right? Just like a father can be mochel on his kavod, and a rebbe can be mochel on their kavod, a Talmud Chacham can be mochel on kavod. A Kohen also, he's not better than a Talmud Chacham. Talmud Chacham Kohen is better than a Kohen, but a Kohen could also be mochel on his kavod. Therefore, even though you're not supposed to use a Kohen to be mishamish you, to be a waiter, to be a servant, if he says it's okay, he's mochel on his kavod, he could be mochel on his kavod. But they made a takana, and therefore it's shul, even though he's according to the rights of the first aliyah, he can give it, if his rebbe there and he's Yisrael, or there's an important influential person there, right? Like the prime minister, like Bibi Netanyahu. So you can give it to Bibi Netanyahu first because you can be mochel on your kavod. However, they were masakin. No one's allowed to do that because then everyone's going to say, I'm important also. Why is he important and I'm not important? So therefore, they said, always leave it the way it is. You can't be mochel on your kavod when it comes to aliyahs. Amar of Masna, Amar based on Knesset is low. You can't do it. You can't waive your honor in shul. Amar Ela b'Shabbos Yom Tov. It's only in Shabbos Yom Tov. There's a lot of people there. They're going to fight. But b'Sheni v'Chamishi low. Sheni v'Chamishi. There's not many people come to shul. You can waive your honor. Eini is a shuva. Harav Huna Kari B'Kani b'Shabbos Yom Tov. Rav Huna was Yisrael. He read first on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shani Rav Huna Dafil B'Yami B'Asi Kani Chashiv Eretz Yisrael make up of a kaifile. Even the biggest Kohanim, Rami and Rasi in Eretz Yisrael, they were subservient to Rav Huna, and therefore there was no one's going to argue. Rav Huna got the first aliyah, and no one's going to say I'm an aliyah of Rav Huna. The biggest Kohanim, right, subdued themselves to Rav Huna, so therefore they wouldn't bring fights. Amar Abai Naktina ain't Sham Kohen Sparta Chavila. If there's no Kohen there, so the order is off. The whole package is thrown off. Meaning, basically, it's not Kohen number one, Levi number two, Yisrael. If there's no Kohen, the Levi reads first. No, the person that can read first is anybody, even Yisrael could read. There's two opinions in Rashi. One opinion in Rashi is that specifically a Yisrael has to read first. The other opinion is anyone who wants a Levi Yisrael. But the point, the bottom line is the Levi does not have Kedima to Yisrael. We'll talk about why this is true, and even with Ben Sion. Amar Rabbi Natin and Ensham Levi. If there's no Levi there, Kori Kohen, the Kohen reads. The Gemara at this point thinks another Kohen. First Aliyah is to one Kohen, second Aliyah is to another Kohen, and then Yisrael. Any is true. Amar B'Yochanan Kohen Achar Kohen Lo Yikra. You can't have one Kohen and another Kari. Mishum Pagam Sharisha. The people will think, right, the first Kohen, the reason he didn't get the second Aliyah is because there's something wrong with him. Right, he's progeny of a Grusha. His father married a Grusha, and he's a Chalal. They're going to think bad things about him, and that's why they removed him. Levi achar Levi lo yikra mishum pugam shneim. And also Levi, if one Levi gets an aliyah, another Levi can't read after him because he might discredit either one of them. Right? They might discredit the first one, say, why is the second Levi reading? There must be something wrong with the Levi. He's not really a Levi. He lost his Kedushas Levi because maybe his father was with him on Zeres or an Asina or something like that, or a Zona, which makes him lose his status as a Levi. Or there'll be a problem. The second one, they'll say, there's something wrong with the second one. There's something wrong with the second one because, why is there something wrong with the second one? We'll discuss this. So, I was going to ask what's written in a Kohen. Why is there a Kam for Shneim, also by a Levi? So the Gemara answers first, Ki Gamrin, but also Kohen. We're talking about a Kohen can't read after a Kohen. Right, a Kohen could read after a Kohen. That's the same Kohen, right? If there's no Levi, right, this is the practice. The person who gets the Aliyah of Kohen gets two Aliyahs. He gets the next Kohen. So there's a Maishna Levi after Levi, Dika Pagam Shneim. Why is the Levi after a Levi? There's a Pagam, right? There's people are going to say bad things about both of them. The Amri, Chad Minayu Lav Levihu. One of them is not a Levi. Either the first one is not really a Levi, maybe the second one. Or maybe the second one is not a Levi, and that's why they were allowed the Levi to read after the, right? He was a Yisrael. And that's usually it's Levi and then Yisrael. So the second one, even though people think he's a Levi, he's really Yisrael. They'll say bad stuff about the second one. Kohen Acher Kohen Ami Amri Chad Minayu Lav Kohen. Why only worry about the Pagam of the first one, the Pagam of the second one also? Right? They'll say that the second Kohen he's not a Kohen, he's a Yisrael. He's a Chalal. He loses Kedushas of Kohana. The Muksaklan Ba'avua, the Haisheni, the Kohen. It's assumed, we know that the father is a kosher Kohen. He was not with a Grusha. And therefore, as a Chazaka, we know that the second Kohen is a valid Kohen. It's only a concern for the first Kohen being removed. Hakanami, the Muslim avoid the high sheni the Levihu. So if you're going to say that about Kohanim, we should say something about Leviim. Why are we worried about the Pagam of the second one? Ella Amri, Mamzeras and Asina, and Astivu Pasa Lazare. What is the concern by the Levi? We'll say that the father of the second Levi, he married Mamzeras and Asina, and therefore his children are not Leviim, they're Yisraelim. Hakanami Amri Grusha Chalutza Nastiv, Achle Lazare. So the same thing by Kuna. You'll say the second Kohen, his father married Grusha Chalutza. And now he's a Yisrael. Sof, he's a Chalal, he's a Yisrael. Sof, Levi, Mika Havi. So then where it says, at the end of the day, Is he a Levi? Right, he's not a Levi. One second. Right, even in the case, right, where it's known that the father of the second one is a valid Kohen, right? Right. Meaning by the Kohen, right, if the father actually was the product of Grusha Chalutza, so his son's a Chalal, he wouldn't be reading Balevi, right? A Kohen reads first, and then after him would be the second Kohen, right? And normally the second place is reserved for a Levi. So therefore they won't think the second one has a problem, because if he really was puzzled to be a Kohen, he wouldn't get the second Aliyah, he'd get the third Aliyah. So we're not worried about the second Kohen, but the Levi, right, who reads after me is trouble, we're worried about the second one. People will think that his father sinned and he's not really a Levi. Where's the Ulaman? Who are we worried about? Lili Yoshvin. Right, we're worried about the Pagam of the second Kohen. You can't have a Kohen and then another Kohen, because people will think the first one is puzzle. Ili Yoshvin Hakachazule, right? Normally, if he had a Pagam, right, he's not really a Kohen. They realized that after he got the Aliyah, so you have to start over. His Aliyah didn't count. You have to do another 3 Aliyahs. If they stay in the shul, no one's going to think Kohen after Kohen is a Pagam. We're talking about the people that leave the shul. There are people that leave the shul early, and therefore they'll think that the second Kohen got the Aliyah because the first one was invalid. That's the conclusion of today's share. Stay tuned for Ian with Ben Sion, where I talk about what exactly is this honor of a Levi. Is the Levi second place is also an award, or is the Levi second for a different reason, maybe just to give honor to the Kohen? We'll talk about the true status of Levium. Ian with Ben Sion coming up next.